What is up, guys? Welcome to the Coalcast for the week of June 4th. Nope. Evan shook his head. I don't know when this is coming out. I also don't know. I feel like I haven't done the podcast in weeks. So I don't know what to catch everybody up on. We went to Bob's. Had a good time there. The IBA did a hammer in at Rob's last weekend. That was a good time. We went somewhere else, but we probably already talked about it, so we will brush over those things. Thank you, Rob, for having the IBA out and having us out. Corbin made a striking anvil, and I believe he made a hammer for Kevin.
Oh.
Or at least that was in the works. But it was a good time out there. I had to leave. It's my girlfriend's birthday weekend, so we had to go celebrate that. New things happening around the shop. Like I said, I don't know how long it's been since I've been on, so I don't know what's new. K75 response has been absolutely stellar. Thank you, everybody who has responded with questions, comments, concerns. Papal John put out a video going over what it's like to receive a K75, how to break it in, doing some projects on it. Great video on where you would use a K75 compared to a power hammer or a press or, you know, other machines in your shop. So, yeah, we're kind of spooling that up. Still working on getting the power hammer, the pre-sales. We're rolling through those, building those up, getting those sent to customers.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. And then 12-ton punch and stripper. Good Lord, you guys are fiends. The 12-ton tribe, anytime we do something for the 12-ton, is just an outstanding response. And it's like, okay, well, last time we released the butcher taper dies and we sold 15 of them, we'll make 15 of this new punch and stripper set. Well, I sold like 25 that first week. So it's been absolutely great. To everybody who did not get the set screws in their package, because we forgot to put that on the packaging list, please let me know if you did not get those, because we will ship those out. We will get them to you. That was an error on my part by not telling our shipping guy that those need to be included. So I think I've got everybody pretty much taken care of at this point. But if you don't have the set screws and you've had to make do with something else, let me know. Get you taken care of. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. As far as I know, goings on around the shop. Coming up, we have the IBA. Is this on it? Can you see that? Is it too bright there? Right there. The 43rd annual conference. That's going to be in Tipton, Indiana, June 6th through 8th. Please come out to that. We will have Nate Weiss and I can't remember Jennifer's name. Jennifer Petralia coming out. She's going to be doing some ornamental work. Nate does small tooling and stuff. I don't know exactly what his demonstration is going to be, but he has a really cool YouTube and TikTok that he does, like calipers and small scissors, tweezers, stuff like that. Just a fun look at kind of small work, which we're not used to around this shop and around the IBA. It's a lot of big stuff and team striking and hammering and stuff. So come out to that. That's going to be the fairground. You can camp. There are some hotels available, and it's a good time. It's going to be a Friday through Sunday. Sunday's a half day, and then you can get on, mosey on home, and get back to work on Monday morning. So that is about all I've got. Have a good day, guys. I'm glad you joined us for this podcast. I'm just kidding. Today, our guest is somebody that we've talked about a lot. We've alluded to. It is Corbin's dad, Kyle. Kyle ended up being our safety guy through a series of events at MoFab, and we needed to get a safety guy on board. And he has since not only joined the MoFab payroll, but our family. He has enriched our lives in many, many ways, mostly by giving us an able body to throw around the floor and make him do all the stuff we don't want to do. I think the legal term is intern.
Right.
But, you know, gopher, We send him for snacks and treats, and he does a lot of stuff. So what I want to cover today with you, Kyle, is, and we're also going to get insight from another father-son pair, but not your. We'll talk about what you do and kind of what got you into safety, because you have some fun stories. But more so, what I want to cover today is your relationship with the blacksmithing community as a father of a blacksmith, as compared to somebody who would want to come in and join the culture because their kid is part of it, right? You get this a lot with like baseball mom and dads, where they've never played sports in their entire lives. Their kid loves baseball, so now they're a baseball mom or a baseball dad, and they buy an RV so they can save money on the hotels, and their kids play 3 different leagues of summer ball, and they're in the gym in the winter. You have taken an approach where you were really supportive up front, and you kind of got them, okay, is this what you want to do? There's, I can take you to Cole, you can forge with those guys. And then we introduce him to Kurt. And it's like, okay, well, now I can start taking you to Kurt's. And then he meets Paul and Rob, and Paul and Rob are like, hey, we're fathers. Do you trust me to take your child across state lines?
Right.
And you're like, yes, please. I need a weekend away from my child. So when Corbin first started getting interested in blacksmithing, what was your reaction? Were you hesitant at first? Was it like, oh, this is kind of dangerous? Or was it more so like, oh, my kid found something passionate that he can do. How can I be supportive? What was your reaction at first?
Well, I think Corbin's always been that kid that has, we couldn't give him a video game. From when he was 4 or 5 years old, he was always wanting tools. He was always out, out in the shop. And I have a shop-ish. It's real Corbin's storage area, I think. But it's a 40 by 60 barn, and he probably has 80% of it filled. But I can still park my mower in there. But so when he kind of started, he built a lathe when he was 7.5.
Okay. Because
we wouldn't buy him a lathe, so he built it out of a 3-speed drill. And then it was like, oh, crap, well, we better get him a lathe. So then he started that. He's always been really passionate about it. But I would say around 2020, 2021, he started watching different shows, different things. And he, when he was like, man, I really like this, and now I want to forge. Well, I am a safety guy, so I'm like, wait a second. Let's see what the temperatures on those are. Oh, they're 2,500 to 3,000 degrees. I don't know that I want that in my barn. And then it was, well, then I'll build one out of, there's different ways to build them.
Right.
So then it was, well, we got to figure out a forge now. And then we're blessed in that the community's so great, but also that Cole Ironworks is so close, and that I already started that relationship with MoFab, and then Cole was part of it. And it was kind of like, hey, let me show you this. And then it was, it was like taking a normal kid to Disney World, because, and then it was all he was like, oh, I need this. But I guess the bigger thing for me is I didn't want it to be my thing. I wanted it to be his thing. Mm-hmm. But I think the community, the blacksmithing community as a whole, sets it up in a way of, they were very welcoming. They were a lot of things, whether it's baseball or racing or whatever you're into, it's like, I'm going to be cordial with you, but I'm not going to share my secrets.
Right. Yeah, it's a trick of the trade. That's how I make my money.
Right. But with blacksmithing, I'm not going to tell you how I did that. I'm going to show you, then I'm going to give you the tools, then I'm going to help you. One of the, and there's been so many people, I'm not going to mention it, I'm going to forget names, but one of the first little shows that he did, and he learned how to make the split crosses.
Yeah.
We went down to Ferdinand, Indiana, and he's like, oh, I know a guy down there. And I'm like, how do you know? You're like 14. How do you know a guy there? And this guy shows up, and he makes spoons with Corbin all day, and it's Steve King.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
And he literally worked all day, and then at the end of the day, Corbin was like, okay, here's your tools, here's my tools, tongs and all that kind of stuff. He's like, just keep it all. And it was just that, to me, that's unheard of.
Right.
And then we used to drive by this shop in Atlanta, Indiana. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, it's a blacksmith shop. And we would drive by, and he would see all the stuff because Kurt has stuff under the awning out there.
Yeah, Kurt has stuff everywhere.
And he's like, oh, look at that. And I'm like, so one day I stopped, and he's like, well, you should bring him over on a Thursday. So I brought him over, and from then on, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better group of guys like Kurt's, the crew there too.
Right.
So, I mean, it's Corbin. We're really blessed because Corbin has a support. It's almost like he has multiple support groups. He's got the guys at Cole, which Corbin wants to go into machining and metalworking, but he has both the blacksmithing piece and the machining piece and the assembly piece. And then with Kurt's group, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff there. You know, there's guys from Kevin, Paul, Rob, all of them.
Yeah.
And then he also has that larger group with the Andrew Larsons and the Mark Lings and Dave Custer and all those guys. And I'm missing 50 more people. You know, Ed, all of them, great guys. And there's my mother-in-law was like, wait a second, you let him go to Texas? Or you let him go to Louisiana, or you let him go to Pennsylvania? I'm like, yeah I'm fine. I mean, but I also think that it takes a village to raise a kid. And I'm not that, and we're not that parent that is like, well, don't speak mean to my kid. Well, if my kid messes up, tell him.
Yeah.
You know, because that's how we learn, and that's how the real world is.
Right.
Now he has got me in the barn. So most of his split crosses I cut. Because I want to be out in the barn with him. I want to be out there helping. I don't need to forge, but he lets me run the bandsaw because he doesn't love that because that's tedious and boring.
Yeah.
And he
you are the intern,
right? Yeah, I am and so is his mom. So whenever we have like a little festival we go to, we get two spots: a spot for our tent to sell stuff, and then a spot for him because really the blacksmith is the draw.
Yeah,
anybody can sell stuff. And one of the things that Corbin learned really fast was when I'm hammering, people stop and buy stuff. But when I'm not hammering, they just walk by.
Right.
And that was cool for him to learn. The other piece that I thought was really cool for him to learn is he can make a hook for grandma.
Yep.
And it may take him all day, but he's not going to sell that hook. He had to get through his head that, wait a second, I need to make something cool but fast.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, no one's going to pay for 8 hours of time on a hook. But it's okay if you're doing it for grandma. It's not okay if you're doing it for somebody that you don't know.
Right.
So it was very fun for us to watch him start to understand the business side of things. And then he came up with a logo and has cards and he's incorporated now, and we're actually switching that over to an LLC. But I still have to pay because I'm 18 and he isn't.
Right,
so they want somebody to pay the taxes. You know how that goes. But no, it's been really cool, and it's kind of been his identity. But but he's still a kid too. Like he's still, he's still plays football. He still was in the band. He still, his buddies come over, which Hayden, and you probably heard of Burke. Burke is the welder, and there's Hayden and Caden, and all of them. Yeah. So it's really cool. They're one of the coolest things that they do on Wednesday nights in the summer, and it was the last couple years. Wednesday nights they would all come over, and 1 week. Corbin might teach them how to forge something, but then the next week, Burke might teach them to TIG weld. And then the next week, somebody would teach them something else, and I would buy the pizza. And somebody said, well, you're having to buy the pizza every week. I'm like, but I know where they're at.
Yeah.
And I know what they're doing. Right. I mean, they're not doing anything wrong.
They're not out sneaking beers or smoking cigarettes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd much rather do that. And now Corbin has told me a few times I need to learn how to strike because I'm not very good at that. And so he has a stump set up for me with different, because Kevin Hickman was like, yeah, you need to get a stump and you need to get the different things set up. And Kevin's great, and Noah. And so I've been practicing so I don't embarrass him, at Sofa. And my dad, who was a firefighter, small engine shop, builds engines, all that kind of stuff. My dad loves it. My dad loves going to the IBA. He loves going to Sofa. But he also likes to go back to his camper because he's 78.
Yeah.
So Dad would be like, yeah, it's good to see. I saw everything. I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
So, but no, the community, I can't say enough about the Blacksmith community and how they support each other. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, it's there's not a lot of groups or community. We use the word community so much, and I with the blacksmithing community, it's real because it really is a community. You're hard pressed to find any sort of there's not drama, right? There's some drama, but it's all like mild and
Right. It's not like I used to race. We raced go-karts and midgets and all that kind of stuff. And there was always drama. There was always something. Somebody was upset about something. Nah. Even when they were cleaning up SOFA or cleaning up the IBA, it wasn't, oh, I'm cleaning up my area. It was, okay, I'm done here. I'm going to go help him. I'm going to go help him.
Right.
And it was, even my dad said, this is kind of different.
yeah.
So
Well,
no, it's a cool group for my son to be part of.
I saw a post maybe a week ago, and somebody had stolen an anvil at a blacksmithing group. And I saw a couple posts about it, but all of them were this anvil was taken from my area. I'm sure whoever did it just thought it was theirs. It's
Right.
got mixed up, right? There's not a lot of places you can be in where you can make a post like that. That's like, hey, anvil got misplaced. None of them said this was stolen. It was,
Right.
I used the word stolen. That's my bad. I shouldn't have. But it was like, this got misplaced. If this is in your stuff, please let me know.
Right.
And everybody went into it with goodwill that, hey, it will get returned because this was clearly an accident. People don't steal stuff from blacksmith events. There's been times where I'll look in my bag and be, I don't know whose this is. Send out a group text. Somebody goes, oh, those are mine. Get them to me whenever.
Right.
Well,
and that was new for me because Corbin has a I don't know, like a leather bag or
his Klein bag.
Yes. And I was like, wait, he's like, I don't have my tongs or something. And he's like, it's okay. I'll go, what do you mean it's okay? He's like, Dad, they all look the same. Somebody grabbed him. It's okay.
Right.
He goes, somebody will go through their stuff and tell me. And I'm like, really?
Right.
Like, it was hard for me to grasp that. He at 14, 15 had already, like, Dad, it's okay.
Yeah.
He goes,
fine.
and I go, what if you need him? He goes, I'll make another set.
And even if not, they were probably $60.
Right.
And
Right.
it's like, if I made 4 or 5 things, I got my money out of them at the very least,
Right.
So as he's getting involved with, he got jumped into Kurt, right? Like it was
yeah.
he went twice and then he was like, okay, I live here now.
Right.
I hope he doesn't charge me rent. There was a little bit of a turnover where he would come in and he'd hang out with us. And then he'd be like, well, my dad has to pick me up and then we're going to go to Kurt's, and you would talk about going to Kurt's with him. And then there was a transition to where now he just goes to Kurt's and you're not there.
Right. And I miss those guys.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. And you're more than welcome to go out. It's not like there's anything where they're
Right,
like, well,
no,
you're
no.
not allowed here.
No.
But then it was like, okay, well, if Corbin goes to Quad State, I know I'm going to see Kyle.
Right.
And last year it was Corbin came and then you came for the weekend, but Corbin was there camping with us
Right.
way longer. What was the turnover in your mind where it was like, you said, okay, I want this to be Corbin's thing, but when did you become more comfortable with it being kind of autonomous, where it's like, okay, like I can be there a couple days and support you, but if you want to go out all week, that's fine. If you want to go to Pennsylvania I think you rode out with Paul.
Yeah.
But you also called me, or
Right,
you
well,
actually came in person and you said, hey, you have Corbin this
Right.
week.
Well, I even text Derek Milton a couple of times. I'm like, hey, if you see Corbin and he's doing something he shouldn't do, make sure you slap him or something.
Yeah.
And I think all that it was weird because it kind of all happened very similar, because I felt like I was closer to the Cole guys than Kurt's guys, but I started going there more and meeting them, and then Rob and Paul and Kurt and Kevin, and I'm like, there's all those guys there are great. And it was almost like, okay, I know he's going with them. Even at SOFA when he went early, did he ride with you? No, we drove.
No.
We drove his black truck there last year. And then I was over with Dad.
Yeah.
But he but it was kind of like, I don't know that I can pinpoint a time. Obviously his license helped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a hillbilly, so he drives big trucks, so that burns gas. But no, I think there was probably more that I was watching that he didn't know from back, just being like,
Yeah.
hey, Derek, feel free to. And it was my way of a guy saying, keep an eye on him if you don't mind. And
Yeah.
absolutely, And Rob and Paul have been amazing. Heck, they've taken him everywhere.
Yeah.
So and
It's funny to watch them together because for 2 hours they'll be working on something and they're all 50-year-old disgruntled, grumpy old men. And then Corbin will do something and you can see the shift in Paul and Rob where it's like, okay, this is an instructional moment. This is he's still a kid,
Right.
And they kind of have this relationship where they're all friends, but then in small moments you see the mentor aspect come out or the guardian aspect come out of them because they both have kids.
Right.
And they're both very good dads and father figures. And so I think in the same situation, say one of their kids wanted to get into safety and they
Right.
wanted to trail you and they said, hey, keep an eye on him. Not only do they like the kid, right? Like they like Corbin,
Right.
but they also trust you.
Right.
Because they see the product of what you've done as a father. Corbin's a good kid. We give him a lot of crap,
And he deserves it a lot of the time.
but he's a good kid. When Corbin comes in, I don't have to worry about what spot am I gonna find him napping in or
Right.
today. Once again, we don't say this to his face, but he came up to me. He goes, "Hey, do you mind if I study today?" And I said, "Corbin, what do you mean?" He goes, I there's a lot of stuff I need to get done with Logan, but I have midterm finals this
yeah.
week. And he goes, I really need to study. I was like, Corbin, if you came to me every single day and said I'm prioritizing my education so that I can be here, because he can't do this next year if he doesn't pass these finals.
Right.
If that is the mature thing to do, to come to me and say, hey, I showed up for work. I didn't call you and say I need to study and then go back to bed. You came to work with your computer, with all of your workbooks and everything. And you said, I'm going to sit in the break room and I'm going to study. And he was like, yeah, I want to do that. Absolutely, dude. Do you need an office? I'll kick Evan out of his office all day. I don't care. But he, because of the influence that you've had and the getting him to be adult enough to prioritize his education, getting him to say, okay, I want to go to this event this weekend, but that means I have to do this on the forefront of the week because it has to get done. You see the results of you in that. And because of, things like that, I feel like it like you said, it's kind of a two-way street where Corbin's a good kid. So he had a good father. So
right. Better mother, but yeah.
They feel comfortable coming in and saying, hey, Corbin, there was one incident, which I won't go over, but there was one incident where we had to pull him and say, hey, man, what that guy was doing absolutely was not the proper way to do it.
Right.
He's also 60 years old.
Right.
It is not okay for you to go up and get into an argument with a grown man when you're 16.
Right.
And I was willing to do that. I can't remember. It might have been.
If we're talking about the same one, it was him and Noah.
Yeah.
And Kevin had a great mentor moment, and I'm so happy that Kevin's part of Corbin's life too, because
Kevin don't put up with it.
But yes, you're probably right. You don't have to tell everybody,
Right?
And I think all of us have to learn that. And then there's times where I think that you get older. I'm 46, and there's a point where I'm like, yeah, he doesn't need to know that I'm right.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yep. Yeah, you can tell me. I think some celebrity said something like, I'm at the point in my life where you could tell me 1 + 1 = 5, and I'm going to tell you, God bless, have a good day.
Right.
Because it's just not worth either of our energy. If you've made it to this point in your life thinking that that's true, then go for it. Yeah. It's obviously not hindering you in any way. God bless, have a good day.
Well, and that was very similar. So I said, first of all, I told my boys, life isn't fair.
Yeah.
So there were some people that would get to, because Corbin comes here in the mornings, and then he goes to class. I think he has to be there by like 11:15. Well, he would get there, and some people would carry their bag or something. I don't know. And it was the specific teacher, she let some people do it, but not others. And he was like, well, this just isn't right. I said, are you going to change her mind ever? You know, try to get him to understand, like, that's not a battle that you're going to win. So why even waste your energy?
Right. And even so we'll go through the proper process. I'm going to call your dean and I'm going to tell your dean that this teacher isn't doing her job. And then we're going to have a sit down meeting with the teacher. And then it's like, is that worth all the effort? Can you just leave your bag and carry the 2 books that you're taking in? And then also you just had a sit down teacher where your criticism began an open reprimand. You think you got a target on your back now.
Right.
What happens? Because I went through that in high school where I had a teacher that seemed to always have it out for me. And so my teachers were like, cool, we'll have a meeting. My kids, I was not the greatest child, but I also wasn't trying to, smoke cigarettes in the bathroom or anything. So my parents were like, yeah, we'll have a meeting with them. And in the meeting, the teacher said some things which were not okay, and my dad called him out in the middle of it, and even the principal was like, whoa, you can't, not okay. And from that moment on, that teacher wrote me up for, I got written up at one point because my friend had come in, and he had his head down the entire class. I had back-to-back classes in this. I actually had him for homeroom, and then I had him for drama 4. So it was back-to-back classes. My friend had been on the table all day, head down, and that wasn't like him. So, what's going on, man? And he was like, well, I got into it with my dad last night, and his dad beat the crap out of him. And pretty rough. Like, this wasn't the kind of family where it's like, well, you knew to expect that. It was like, oh, your dad did, like, this was like a picturesque family. Right. And I'm not going to say the kid was in the right. The situation got heated. A grown man shouldn't have laid hands on a child. Right. But that was the situation. He was like, my dad beat the crap out of me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got kicked out. I slept in my car last night. And I was like, dude, I'm a child. I don't know what to do. So I love you. Let me know if you need anything. Teacher wrote me up for saying I love you because he thought I was poking fun at gay people. That's what was on I was intolerant of gay people, and he thought I was making a joke. So even down to that kind of thing, I was getting written up for. And it's like, I went through the proper procedure of Mom, Daddy, I'm kind of struggling in this class. And they were like, okay, we'll set up a meeting. Went through the meeting. And then all of a sudden I had an even bigger target on my back because I had been in the room when this teacher was told, you can't do that. That's not okay. It's like, teacher pretty much said, watch me. Right. So in those scenarios, it's good at a young age because I didn't learn that lesson at that time. It obviously took, I'm still learning it 15 years later, 20 years later, but it's good to see. And I think it was Kevin that I saw, because I had gone over and I was like, hey, come over here. And let me tell you, don't do that. Right. And then watching him talk to Corbin about listen, man, for all the times you're right, you're right. And all the times they're wrong, they're wrong. And that's just life, and sometimes that guy could do it wrong his whole life. And there are tons of knife makers that you can watch on Instagram that can't keep knives in stock. They, hey, I'm posting my knives at 12 o'clock and they sell out by 12:05. And then once you talk to other knife makers, it's like, I can't believe people buy their crap and whatever. And it's like, yeah, life's not fair, dude. I don't know how to silence this phone. You are doing everything correctly and he's getting fairly good results for the scale that he's at. There are a lot of people out there that are not doing the same quality of work that other blacksmiths are doing, and they are way more recognized. And that is in every industry. I'm sure in your safety industry, absolutely. It's like, guys that own safety firms that walk in, they look around, it's like, yep, everything looks good to me. And then they walk out and they're getting cut way bigger checks than you are. Right. Who cares? Life's not fair. No. Louis C.K. has his TV show that he was on. I think it was called Louis, actually. But there's a part where he has his 2 daughters over, and one of them throws a fit because, she got more ice cream than me. And he sits her down, and it's a comedy show, and you expect it to be like something funny. But he sits down and he says, there's ice cream in this bowl. There's ice cream in this bowl. The only reason you should ever look at your neighbor's bowls to make sure they have enough, not if they have more than you. And it was like this really impactful moment for me because I'm expecting
Right.
to laugh, and it's like, oh, we should care about people.
Right.
You know, but those are the kind of life lessons that I've seen evolve Corbin. Kind of getting back on topic, there is I've seen kind of if Dad says it, okay, it's, whatever.
Right.
But if somebody else says it, all of a sudden it cuts through the shine.
Right.
Have you experienced that a lot with kind of some of the guys and seeing his growth and maturity impacted by them?
Oh, absolutely. I think that I think Corbin has been blessed in that all those guys, Dan that's there, Kevin, they all bring something different to the table. Everybody brings something. Those life experiences, and I think that we finally have Corbin to the point where he's like, oh, okay, I can learn from them. Because at first, I think when you're 12, 13, 14, when he kind of started, it was, oh, I want that kind of anvil. Oh, I need this kind of a hammer. I need this kind of a post vise. And I was like, who cares about the equipment?
Yeah.
What you need from them is their knowledge. Like, listen, and then go write it down, and then listen again. And Kurt got him. I don't know if it was Kurt or Paul, but or maybe Rob. They got him started writing everything down. So even when he's forging a project now, he has books and they're dirty and nasty, but they have all his notes in them.
Right.
And but yeah, I think getting him to realize that, and the other thing is getting me to realize that even though he acts like he's 60-something, he is 17, Yeah. Because sometimes I'm like, wait a second, he is a kid, even though he's hanging out with all these old men, So yeah, it's been so rewarding. Now, his hands are never clean.
Yeah.
But
neither are his pants.
Neither are his pants. Yep. And even though you guys signed him up for the program for the uniforms, I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, those pants are. Of course they are, buddy. Of course they are. So So I'm like, we're gonna have to start doing his laundry somewhere else. Because it is not something his mom and I want done at our house. But no, and the other thing that has been also cool is that they haven't just been accepting of Corbin. And even here, like when you saw Hayden, you thought Hayden was 20-something. Yeah. Because Hayden is biggest hearted kid I've ever met, but built like Shrek. Right. He's definitely a defensive tackle, and he, you guys have accepted his buddies too. Yeah. So Hayden and Caden, to make things even harder. But they both go to Kurt's. Yep. I don't think Burke has been there. Burke's going to welding school.
He's a little older than them.
Yeah, right? He graduated 2 years ago, I think. Okay. So yeah. But what I told them, I said, guys, this is great because you guys will feed off each other. And what I told Corbin and what he's already noticed is he's fed off not just contacts from his school, because those are school kids. Yeah. But Dave Custer, Andrew Larson, we went out to Texas and saw Mark Lang, and that was a cool thing. Mark and Andrew were out there doing a hatchet class, and I actually flew out, and I learned a lesson. You don't fly with Blacksmith stuff because it costs 3 times as much to get home. Yep. So that was interesting. So we'll drive everywhere now. But I like it, and I want to get involved a little bit more, like to be able to strike and do some other things. But I still want it to be all him. Yeah. Because when people will come up to the little, when we only do like 3 festivals a year, but they always look at me or his mom and go, "Hey, how long you've been blacksmithing?" I'm like, I'm just kind of the eye candy. Yeah. I'm just the salesperson. Well, you're good at that. Right. You're right. I like to think so.
Nice and trim.
So and I'm like, no, it's his, and I think the blacksmith at any show is going to be a draw, but I think a blacksmith at a show and it's a kid is even more of a draw. So I don't, I would say that one of the, and it's been cool to see him learn things too. Yeah. So, and sometimes it takes a while. You have to tell him 2 or 3 times, like, hey, I think we're burning too much propane. Well, that's okay when Dad's buying the propane.
Right.
Right. And then he started buying the propane, and it was like, Francis said I should turn this down, or Logan said I should turn this down,
Yeah,
or Greg. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
He was running full throttle. Yeah.
Right.
He's like, I'm burning through, 20 gallons a night. And it's like, a night? How long's a night? And he's like, 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the induction forge was a godsend.
Yeah.
Because, So now, granted, the electric bill went up, but it's only for a couple seconds.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
So that, and then he decided to light the coal forge in the barn when my car was in there. So I was like, hey, probably shouldn't do that anymore.
At least your car smells nice inside.
Right.
If you like the smell of coal. I guess some people don't like it. But.
Right. And I've learned, and we've learned so much stuff. The first shows, we would take all kinds of stuff, and we're like, we don't need all that.
Yeah.
We don't need this. We don't need that.
Only take what you're going to use.
Right.
Right.
And don't make it there. Make it before. Make some stuff there so people can see it, but make it before.
Nothing's worse than like somebody coming up and being like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, I'm doing a bottle opener. And they're like, cool. How much is it? And you're like, $25. Can you give me half an hour? Like now I have to finish it.
Right.
Yeah. Taking some things where you can demonstrate this is what I'm doing. This is what it looks like when it's done. You can purchase these.
Right.
But not the like, because then me and Nathan did a festival in Carmel, and we sold out we made like 5 or 6 bottle openers. We were not expecting it to be any sort of turnout. And as we're like, Nathan, how many of those have you gotten through? He's like, well, I got the eye punched in this one. It's like, I'm sold out. So people were coming up and they're, I want to buy one. Can you come back in 20 minutes?
Right.
And then they don't come back. But they would have bought it had it been in front of them.
Yes. And the other thing that we noticed was not only having it ready, but that's part of it, like the forging part of it. But like the punching, the cutting, the split cross, you need stuff at all the different stages of the production piece. So and that we failed at the first couple of times, and I think everybody does. So that was one piece, and then the other one was Corbin has learned this. I'm like, don't overpromise, because he's a perfectionist. So one of my cousins ordered a longer fire poker, and he did the Rubik's Cube twist and all that kind of stuff. And I told her, I said, you're probably going to get 2 more of those. And she said, why? And I said, because he's a perfectionist, and he doesn't like something about it.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't like something about that. And then he doesn't like so they ended up with a couple at least, just because he's like, this one's better than that one. This one's better than that one. Because he kept making them better.
Yeah.
But then the other piece is, I always tell him, don't let him pay. Don't let him, because now it's weighing on you, because I have to get this done, and I have to get this done. Someone is asking for this, and I want to, and he's 16, or he's 17 now, but he was 16. So he's like, and I want to go eat pizza with my buddies, or I want to go do this.
Yeah. He's still a kid after all.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, so we've talked about it. And one of the things that we did for a while, and we kind of go back and forth, but Tuesday nights when he's not going to Kurt's or not have something going on, we try and make that a production night if we can. And that's kind of, and Hayden will come over, or Caden, and we can do all kinds of stuff. Some people will be cutting, some people will be working on their own stuff. It doesn't matter. But he needs to have, it's always fun to make that new thing. But one of the things that Derek Milton was talking about, and it actually was funny, because at the Andy Davis Hammer-In 2 years ago, is that when they did the big cross?
Yeah.
Yeah, Corbin brought me that and goes, can you get this plasma cut?
Yeah.
But his demonstration at that Hammer-In was, hey, we can all make that big thing. But if you make a lot of the small things, that's where the money is. It was kind of poetic justice.
I love that he broke it down into, I don't love every step of this along the way. And he actually made a post recently where he's like, this is my side gig, but sometimes it is a grind, and I don't love it every second of every day. But he's able to work his 9 to 5, provide for his family, go out into the shop, have some fun most of the time. And then he was like, and my kids got new cars.
Right.
Maybe not new, right? Used cars. Right. It's paying their tuition.
Right.
Like he broke it down into, this is where I've been successful. And that was one of the few demonstrations we've had where it's not just how to make something, it was actually how to be successful at making it and selling it, and what some of the benefits of, like, he does those little throwing bottle openers now, and he was doing the tiny Friedrichs crosses, and he does a ton of 3D printing and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, like there's not one big job that pays for something every year. All these little ones pay for whatever I've allocated that money for. And if one or two people don't buy this bottle opener, or one or two people don't buy these blanks that I sell, that's okay, because I sell 500 of them. What's two when I'm selling 500?
And that was one of the another thing that Corbin learned. A lot of his stuff was. I
love that picture.
Oh yeah, that picture. Yeah. So it's Greg, that's Derek, and Nate and Corbin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, they worked on that all day, and then with like 2 minutes left, he burned his finger.
Yep. Well, it was after we got everything done.
Everything was done.
We had on that post vise, we pulled it out, and he just leaned on it.
Right.
And then I still give him crap because I gave him aloe with lidocaine, and he was like, that makes it hurt worse. And I was like, that's impossible. Right. It has a numbing agent in it.
Well, he was pretty young then, because it was 2 years ago, so he was 15.
Yeah.
And he was, I know guys, he went in the bathroom, to get the burn gel or whatever. And he's like, I feel so stupid. I go, there's not a guy here that hasn't burnt themselves.
Right.
There's not a blacksmith that hasn't burnt themselves. Come on. And I mean, he knew that, but I think he needed to be, and there were a couple guys that came up to me and was like, yeah, I've done it all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And so they're ranch. I said rants. But yeah. So it happens. And that was one of the things too, most kids you see burns on their arms. You think, oh, their parents burn them with cigarettes. Well, our kid does it to himself.
Yeah.
But we are blessed that he's found something that he's passionate about. We are super blessed that there is such a great community, and that Cole's here, and that the Cole guys are here. Because without you, I mean, everybody, Logan, Evan, Chris, the machining guys, Shiloh and
Nigel.
Thank you. I mean, everybody has been absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And but I always want them to feel like, hey, it takes a village to raise them. So if he's doing something stupid, because we all did.
Yeah.
We all did. And it's a journey. So it is kind of funny. So his older brother's a senior at Ball State, and he'll be like, yeah, I might have made the dean's list, but Corbin made a flower, or Corbin did a this, or Corbin. So, it's kind of funny, but, it's cool to see how your kids can be very similar, but go down different paths too.
Yeah.
So,
is there anything, because you see it all the time, and Evan, start to prepare a blacksmithing question, because we're going to slowly wrap it up if you can find something on Reddit or whatever mediums you use. But you see it all the time where somebody will get on, specifically I see it on Reddit all the time on r/blacksmith. My son watched Forged in Fire. He wants to start blacksmithing. Guys will get on and say, well, get him this tong set from Blacksmith Depot, or get this hammer set, whatever. Not that, but is there any advice that you would give to parents whose kids are wanting to get into blacksmithing that kind of have the same outlook you do, where it's like, I don't want to do that. That doesn't do anything for me. How would you advise parents on how to get their kids involved in blacksmithing without themselves being the star of the show? You and Kevin both do a great job at no, that's their thing.
Right. But Kevin's a lot better blacksmith than me. I'm like more of a blacksmith helper. Kevin's like a blacksmith. But what I would say is, and I'm sure I've already said it, we are blessed in the state of Indiana, and I know other states have it too, but IBA. IBA is huge. And first of all, I didn't know what a hammer-in was. I didn't know what I thought it was a Keaton anvil, but it's a keyed-in anvil. I learned all those kinds of things. But what I would say is support them. They don't need an anvil. Get them a piece of railroad track.
Yeah.
Because call Corbin, because there's about 50 pieces along our railroad track, and he'll cut one for you. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get something to where they can start heating metal and moving it. Just learning how to draw it out. I think that was one of the things that you guys were showing him. I know I know Noah does a great job at it, and I think just support them. They didn't have to be a great hammer.
Yeah.
I think Corbin's favorite hammers are not probably his best hammers, but they're hammers that are meaningful. Like a Steve King hammer.
Yeah.
It's, that's meaningful because it's Steve's hammer. And and his first hammer was an Andrew Larson hammer. Well, his first hammer was one that we just had in the drawer.
Yeah.
Probably from somewhere in China. I don't know. But I think it was one of those. We were at SOFA and we didn't even know there was a competition.
Yeah.
And they were like, I was like, well, ask the cool guys for a shirt. And Evan got him a shirt.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, and Logan's like, he can't use that hammer.
No.
So we got it. But no, I guess my advice is find a hammer. And the community is so great that they will rally around. I mean, even Hayden has a forge now. Hayden and Caden have forges and anvils and hammers that came from Rob, Paul, Kurt.
Right.
That whole group, Gary, all of them.
Right. Gary's unsung. Gary is kind of in the corner and quiet,
But he's resourceful. He has access to lots of stuff, and he was he worked at John Deere.
Yeah.
And he can work on anything. Yeah. And I'm missing all kinds of guys too. But yeah, and one of the other cool things is that once you get to know them, they don't expect you as a dad or you as a mom or whoever. You don't have to be there.
Yeah.
You just have to, Now, I was there for a lot of it, and I actually talked to Paul a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Hey man, I haven't seen you. I miss you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come cook burgers for you or something."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just like going there and hanging out with the guys.
Yeah.
So I guess my advice is find the IBA. I guess there's one in Michigan too.
Yeah, MABA's big up in Michigan.
Yep. And then find them, and then our hammer ins for IBA are last Saturday.
Last Saturday of every month.
Now, when you guys did the one at Rob's, was it?
That-
did you not do one here then?
That one was...
Oh, it was last weekend.
Yeah, it was last weekend.
Because they're not doing it this weekend.
It wouldn't interfere with ours. Evan, why aren't we doing it this weekend?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. We're not...
It's next weekend.
Oh, ours is next weekend.
Oh, we are doing one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we are doing one.
I've got the calendar pulled up.
Yeah, Rob's was just the semi. They do a IBA hammer in that is the actual like IBA hammer and not just a satellite one.
Okay.
Every 4 months or something like that, and that's just so that they rotate those so that there can be a board member pretty much at every satellite at least once a year.
Right. I think they do one at Steve King's, and they do one other side of the airport off of 70, but I don't remember that guy's name. Corbin would be mad at me right now because he's like, "Dad, I tell you all the time." But I know that they do them all over.
Yeah, yeah.
There are
and doesn't
4 meetings this weekend and 2 next weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there's also a big thing at the state fair, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
they have a post at the state fair.
Yeah, and I know that this year I don't know that Corbin might have helped one day, but he needs to spend more time there this year. Just helping and showing and because
Well, it makes it accessible when you have 5 or 6 guys that are, I'm 35, so 35 up to Bill Corey.
Right. And Bill helps run it,
who's
I think,
probably
at the state fair.
36, right?
Yes,
Bill Corey's
you better
probably
say 36.
only 36. So when you have that 1 year age gap, no, but when you see
He dresses better than you.
he does dress much better than me,
Right.
Than all of us,
Right.
When you see 35 all the way up to 80, and then you have a 16-year-old or even a 7-year-old, it's like, okay, well, I can do that when I'm an old man.
Right.
But when you have Corbin out there and you have Noah out there, and I see a difference in people bringing their kids to events. If Noah's there, the kids are blacksmithing. If Noah's not there, kids are not blacksmithing. They're playing tag. They're running around. Gary's grandkids come and Phoebe's daughter comes. And if Noah's there, the kids are blacksmithing.
Right.
And just having that accessibility of like, oh, well, he's my age. He can do it.
He can do it. I can do it.
I can do it.
Right.
And like you said, getting involved, and you don't have to go out and say, all right, guys, here's a blank check, build out a shop.
Right. No.
You can go in and say, hey, my kid wants to come and blacksmith with you. can I sweep the shop? Can I buy a bag of coal? Can I,
Buy donuts? Can I do
buy
whatever?
donuts? Your move was always the
Food.
dinner, the food,
Right.
the pork burgers, which are delicious.
Right.
But the whole future of the community can't rely on a 40-year-old who has, worked in an office that wants to release some stress, finds this as a hobby, and then does it part-time.
Right.
You need those guys, don't get me wrong. You need those guys that fall in love with it later. But you also need the Corbins and the Noahs and the Andrew Larsons and the Mark Lings that it got a hold of them at a young age. Even, me, I wouldn't say that I started blacksmithing with any regularity until I actually started working here. I did it when I could, where I could. I loved doing it, but I didn't have a garage or a shop,
Right.
So I needed access to somebody else doing it. So that's where Nathan came in. Nathan was 12 or 13 years old when he started it. I had access through him. You need those kids that bring other people along. So getting your child into a shop and saying, how can I support them? And sometimes that will take, you might have to sweep. You might have
Right.
to rearrange a tong rack. You might have to do some material handling. You might have to say, I learned how to run a bandsaw so that I could cut material for the class.
Right.
You don't have to actually do the blacksmithing portion. You can let that be the kids while still supporting what they're doing and being, what's it called? Not proactive,
Just, I don't know, supporting them in whatever their journey is. You just, I miss our Tuesday nights and our Saturdays because we haven't done that in a while. Because those were the days where we would get up early. And Corbin's kind of a hick, so he wants to go to Waffle House and eat, or he wants to go to. So we'd go eat, and then we would go and we work all. We work all day. Then we'd go. Believe me, we'd go eat lunch, and then we'd go. We always made sure that we ate. But and then we'd stop at Harbor Freight, or we'd stop at Lowe's, or we'd stop at Menards, and. But no, it's so you as a parent you can support them, and there's so much you don't have to. I mean, do I want you to buy a press? Yeah, because I like the coal guys, but the coal guys aren't going to say you need a press. They're
you don't
gonna
need
say,
a press day one.
You don't
No.
need a press.
You
Heck
don't
no.
need a press
Heck
year
no.
one, probably.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I mean, Jonathan Pinkston, he's learned from. He's and that's kind of like that group. And there's even another, and I don't know this Noah's last name, but he's going to actually, I think it's Virginia. You know who I'm talking about?
I know, I can't remember his last name either, but I know older Noah. That's what we call him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Corbin was in the competition with him. They were partners. He's going to a school for metal art,
That's
metalwork stuff too. So, and there's different trade schools. And one other piece I do want to share is Corbin came to us as a freshman, and I feel like our education system pushes people toward college.
Yeah.
And I went to college, and my wife works at Ball State, and my older son is going. And Corbin's like, I don't want to go to college. And we're like, okay. I mean, we already knew, but for some reason there was this unwritten, like, well, you have to go.
I remember you talking to us about that.
Yeah.
And that's where we started to kind of conspire.
Right.
He can come work for me.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. You don't have to go to school. You're going to do something.
Yeah,
You're going to learn
yeah,
something.
yeah.
But that would be wasted money. And I have buddies that have went to college and been lawyers. And then I have other buddies who went to college and they don't do anything with it.
Right.
So I think it depends on the person. So I'm not saying college is bad, but it's not for everybody. And I think that we really need to work on those trades and really need to develop that, because a lot of that's dying.
Right.
So yeah, I'm super excited about it. And we are really blessed.
Yeah.
So
you guys have a very good kid, and
Thank you.
Colton too. So you have two very good
Right.
kids. He went and worked at both MoFab and Barnett Bates,
Yep.
our other two sister companies, and so it's not like he doesn't do anything.
Nope.
He can do some
Yep.
welding and some
Yeah.
installation, and he was out here making pickets with them and borrowed the Ryder hammer. So you guys have done a good job of setting the standard of you're not. I don't know what a PlayStation is. You're
Right,
sitting in
right.
here. He tried to pretend like he didn't know
Yes.
what a PlayStation was, and he'll
Come
still
on.
claim he's only played one time.
Yes.
But you guys have done a really good job of allowing them to they're still children and they have room to grow and evolve. But
they're
you
not
also
perfect.
give them the ability to find their passion.
Right.
And it's not like, well, no, I want you to be a therapist, or I want you to be a nurse, or I want you to be happy.
Right.
And I think that gets lost a lot, specifically within the education system. My dad went to college. My older brother went to college. My sister went to, I can't remember if it was Ivy Tech, but she knew she wanted to be in childhood education, like preschool education. So now she's an administrator for a school. She went to school for that. And I had the same thing where I told my parents, I was like, listen, I have the grades to go to college. I can go to college. I actually wasn't allowed. I wanted to take small engine repair in high school. And my dean told me, like, you're not in trouble and your grades are good, so you can't take this class. It just didn't make sense for me. No. So what I ended up doing was I worked for 6 years at Arby's. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I can't do anything else because I don't have a college degree and I don't want to go to college. So I worked at Arby's. And then when I quit Arby's, I went and worked at Sears. And it was like all these dead-end jobs that if I wanted to move up at Sears, I remember I was the top salesman and I was only working part-time because all the old guys that had been there forever had claimed the full-time spots, but I was selling more than them, which was cool because we worked on commission. So I was still making more money than them, working half the time. That was sick as a 22-year-old.
Right.
But I was like, hey, like, how do I get to be a manager? They were, well, you got to have a college degree. It's like, to manage a department of a Sears? Like, I do their job when they're gone.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
I know how to do their jobs. And I think that we've lost the idea of find something that can be beneficial to you and scratches that itch. Now it's like, well, you have to go to college and then you're going to go buy a house, and it's all like debt centric.
Right.
And I don't think that that's the intention is. I don't think society is just looking for ways to put people in debt, but I think that we have got this idea wrapped up where you work and work and work and work and work to have the things you want to impress the people you don't like.
Right.
And I think that you guys have done a really good job about, you know, hey, do you like being a blacksmith? Cool. Because Colton is going for accounting and money and finance and stuff like that because he likes it. He enjoys the numbers. Mm-hmm. And Blaine enjoys the numbers. You know, the only person I've ever seen get actually giddy about spreadsheets.
Yeah, they're kind of nerds.
Yeah, they're kind of nerds. Those are people that should go to finance school.
Absolutely,
and
me.
It's paid off for them.
Right.
I am good at math, but I don't enjoy it.
No.
It comes in handy when I'm on the floor and it's like, okay, we need to cut that to 3/16, but it's measured in eighths or whatever.
I'm glad you like it because I'd rather go to the dentist.
Exactly. I don't like it, but I can do it. When I started at Cole, it was the first time that was like, oh, wow, I can use things that actually like I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And it's fulfilling, and there's food on my table, and I bought a truck and
right.
all these things. I'm not, the only debt I carry is my house, which
who doesn't?
It would be super cool to just, hey, I want this house. Here's the cash.
Right.
But yeah, I think it is important for parents, especially in the generation, the late 80s, early 90s. Everything was college. It was very affordable to go to college. Now, going to college is not affordable, especially if you don't get grants or you don't get. We are getting off on more tangents.
Sorry.
You're good. But I think it is important for parents to take a step back and realize we are in a very different generation than even when I was in school.
Oh, yeah.
And could have gone to college. It was like $7,000 or $8,000 a semester, and now it's $14,000, $15,000.
Right, and there's even more talk that you just hear on the radio and on TV now about trade schools and learning a trade and what the dollars are. I mean, even in the last 3 years, that has flip-flopped. I mean, it has really come out more, and people are going, wait a second, this makes more sense for me. And it doesn't mean that we don't need people to go to college, because we still do. You know, we need those audiologists and speech pathologists and lawyers and all. I get all that, but it's okay that it's not for everybody. And hopefully, yeah, I mean, and there are schools. He still needs to learn. He's learning so much from Logan on machining and Nigel and Shiloh and all those guys, but he needs to go to the school too to learn different machines. And so, yeah, I think that if you're worried about your kid, and I played college football, so I will tell you that my parents never pushed me to play football or basketball or golf. But nowadays, it seems like so many parents are pushing those kids travel baseball, travel basketball, travel football, travel, and you can play any sport you want all year round now.
Right.
And I don't know that we knew what we were doing, but we kind of worked out for us. But Corbin and Colton, we were able to go, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And even though they both played travel basketball, their favorite sport's football. And that's fine. That's my favorite sport too, but that doesn't mean that it has to be their favorite sport.
Yeah. Well, and I like your idea of try it.
Oh yeah, try it.
There's been times where he's been kind of interested in something, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know that we had a conversation. We had a really good long conversation in the truck. I was driving him home from either here or Kurt's or something. And one of the things we talked about was like, yeah, even if I just like mention that I want to try something, Dad won't let me not try it.
Right.
Like, it's like, well, I kind of want to do this. And then a week later, he's like, I don't really want to. You're like, you don't know that. You didn't try it.
Right.
If it sparked your interest for a second, it might grab a hold of you.
Right.
So, he plays football still. He was in band. He played, the drums and stuff. And I think where a lot of parents would grab them and at 7 years old say, okay, I'm setting up drum lessons. You have to do your drum lessons every week and you have to practice for this and you have to do that. And I'm investing this and I'm doing that. So I expect this in return. You've done a good job at, we'll try it. And then if it catches you 20%,
Right.
do it again in a month. And then if it catches you a little bit, like you can do it and if it's your leisure, it's fine. But you don't come in with this overbearing, like you said you were going to do it, so you have to do it. But you also have the back end of that where it's like, well, you said you wanted to try, so try. There's no harm in trying.
None.
You never know what you're going to find out about yourself. I thought I loved music forever. Started playing drums at like probably 9 or 10 years old, got a guitar at like 12, switched to bass. I sold my bass probably 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I had 5 or 6 guitars, whole cabs. I haven't touched it since.
Right.
It took me 20 years, 20 years to figure out I don't like playing music. I like listening to music
There's a
lot.
difference.
But I have $200 invested in this and I have $400 invested in this. So I got to play. And I was never good, but it's because I didn't care enough.
Right.
And it was really easy for me to look at that and say, not tonight.
Right. Right. Well, and we have a drum set for sale. But it'll break his mom's. It'll break his mom's heart because she was a drummer that he was so into it because he played in high school band since 5th grade.
Yeah.
But it isn't his thing anymore, and that's okay. And what I told he's like, are you mad about that? And I said, not at all. Think about the experiences that you had with marching band and summer band and concert band and all those different things. And playing at the games and then playing at the games in his shoulder pads because he played with his football pads on at halftime when he was a freshman. So, those kinds of things were really cool. So those are experiences he'll never forget, mainly because we have the pictures.
Right. And you can't replace them.
No.
You can't at 35 years old go play football and be in the marching band at the same time.
Right.
And have a girl ask you to prom and, all the things that he's been able to do because he's willing to try.
Right.
And instilling that sense of you don't know until you try, let's go do it is so important. It's something that I wish, and I don't want to put my parents on blast, but it's something that I wish my parents would have done more of because it was a lot of like, I'm interested in this. And they'd be like, well, that's wonderful. But there was no kind of backup of like, let's go do it.
Right. But it's easy for parents, and I was one of them. I think it's easy for them to fall into that. Okay, we're paying for the intense training for basketball. We're paying, and I think if it wasn't for Rebecca, my wife, being the kind of the rock for us and making sure, hey, the boys want to do this, or I remember Corbin was little and we have outside stairs that go to the basement. And I was like, well, that's a cool weathered piece of wood. Where'd you get it? He's like, it's one of our steps. And he was like 6. And he had broke it off and then he glued rocks to it and a stick to it. And it looked like a flower.
Oh, okay.
And so it was more like art than anything. But it was my step. So, but she was like, Rebecca still has, and of course he had to make one for his Aunt Carrie, and one for his,
so all your steps are gone now.
Yeah. So we had to fix those. But it was she was the one probably even more than me that taught me to have him try those different things.
Yeah.
And and I think my parents too. I think they were always, they didn't care whether I was in the play or whether I played college football. It was, we're going to come watch you wherever you're at.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's, and it's weird, and I'm going to sound really old, but I'm 46, and Corbin usually is hanging out with Blacksmiths, and Colton's at school. So Becca and I we're not empty nesters per se.
But you
yet.
feel like it sometimes.
Oh yeah. And it's been a weird feeling because I can tell I still annoy him like any dad does, because he'll get home and we'll be like, hey, how was it? How was it? And he'll be like, I'm gonna go shower.
Yeah,
you know, like,
I'm gonna leave my cup on the table. When I go shower.
Oh, of course he's that's one of the things. I mean, he's a teenager, and you guys have been giving him probably more grace than I would have.
I take pictures when I find cups around the shop. I take pictures and send them to him.
I'm like, dude, really?
I don't throw it away anymore. I'm like, hey, I'm bookmarking this. It better not be here tomorrow.
Right. You're nicer than me. Yeah. But no, I really think Becca was the one that really kind of opened that up when he was little. Like, there was a spot in our yard that I had just planted grass, and he decided to make it all mud. And there's a picture of him just covered in mud. Like, he's like 3, and because he was out there with the hose, and she was like, "It's fine," and I was like, "Well, I guess it is," you know. But it took me some time to get there, and I think that's. I don't know that we knew what we were doing, but we got lucky. And like I said, it takes a village. So my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law live close, my mother-in-law lives close. All of that's great. But what he has now is invaluable, because you hear about some kids they're like, well, I don't know what he's going to do. I'm like, I know what he wants to do.
I think I was that for my parents. I think it was like, well, he better figure it out fast, because I moved out at 16.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
My older brother had some health issues, and they didn't want him living alone, and I was tired of living at home. I was working full-time at 16 at Arby's, and I think around 2021, when it was like, well, he's still working at Arby's, and he doesn't seem to have a plan. Right. I think it was a lot of like, I don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
You know, I figured it out eventually.
Right. You said, we'll be blacksmiths and make presses.
Yeah.
And power hammers and everything else. So, yeah. So, no, I guess more than anything, I would just say we're lucky, blessed. You know, there's all those words.
Yeah.
But also worried and excited for that next chapter, because I don't want to lose that piece of the sofa and the IBAs, because I was the one taking him, and I was the one, and now he's like, hey, I'm going to go with Hayden, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going with Rob, and I'm going with Paul, and okay, bye. Yeah. Let me buy dinner. You know?
Yeah. Every once in a while, he should invite you to.
And he's never told me not to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a community. You don't have to be a blacksmith.
Yeah. Well, the IBA also, quick plug again for the IBA. Let me make sure I have her name right. Is it even in here? It might have just been on the website. So if you're not a blacksmith, but you're married to a blacksmith, or you have a brother who's a blacksmith or a sister who's a blacksmith, they have the spouses program at the IBA. And they will be making baskets this year.
Oh, nice.
So not only do you not have to be a blacksmith, but you can still be involved. I've never been to a blacksmith show where there's not somebody selling something that's 3D printed or, like a basket weave, or just the thing about blacksmithing is, and I hate giving Logan credit, but he said it so eloquently. The blacksmith used to be the engineer, the artist. It was everything.
Right.
So a lot of these guys that do this, even as a hobby, have that mindset of, oh, you make baskets? Cool. Come do what I'm doing. Come join. Just be in the ether of where we're doing. So if you go to a blacksmithing event, you'll probably find something else you like.
Oh, absolutely. And really, blacksmithing is an art.
Yeah.
So they are artists in their own. They're not painting a picture, but it's an art still.
Right.
And we've seen all kinds of different stuff, and it's cool how people will incorporate. There was a candle maker in Ferdinand, and then she wanted to talk to Corbin about making things that go in the ground to hold the candles. She's like, would you make those for me, and then I'll sell them, and so there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, Evan, Do you
How do we
have
do?
your question pulled up? What is our question of the day? I've been forging for a little while now. There's Daddy Brett, apparently. Russian Daddy Brett. I've been forging for a little while now, and the more time I spend in the shop, the more I realize how easy it is to overlook safety. How poignant with my safety guy,
Right.
especially once you start feeling comfortable with the process. What are some safety habits or hard-earned lessons that you think every smith should know, no matter how long they've been at it? Any close calls or wake-up moments you're willing to share?
Yes.
Yeah,
Can I
go for it.
So what I would say, and what I've loved about is glasses. Mm-hmm. So that slag, that stuff that comes off, that your arms are going to heal, your hands are going to heal, for the most part, obviously, right? But your glasses, your eyes aren't going to heal.
No.
And so I guess what gets overlooked the most for me that I see is glasses, and they're usually have them on their head, but they're up here.
Yep.
You know, so spend a couple extra dollars and get glasses that are comfortable, right? Yeah. But spend a couple extra dollars, get something that's comfortable. Have a spare pair because you're gonna, if you put them anywhere near your tools, they're gonna break.
Right.
And then the other thing would it's okay to listen. Even when it comes to safety stuff. So it was the Handy Davis hammer in the first one, and Corbin came here. He actually made the paper, I think, that first year.
Yes, we have it hanging up in the break room.
And he's swinging a hammer, and there's these two older gentlemen walk over to him, and I'm just standing back, and they grab his elbow, and I'm like, what are they doing? He looks at me like, what are they doing? I'm like, listen, like I can hammer a nail.
Yeah.
But I'm not swinging it 800 times a day.
Right.
You know, and what they were telling him was that you swing it so many times. So your body mechanics because if you swing it wrong and you hurt your elbow and you still want to forge, you're never going to get better. So
Right.
I would say glasses and body mechanics. And then the other one that a lot of people always ask is, well, does he wear gloves? No, please no. Because that, a lot of your bladesmiths, obviously, and some drill press stuff, but those parts rotate, and they're known for grabbing gloves. So, and you don't want that glove to melt onto your hand.
Yeah.
So glasses, body mechanics, and no gloves.
Only wear gloves when it's appropriate.
Right.
Right. That's something that we've had to instill in our guys, and it took a guy wrapping his hand in a drill press.
We were actually lucky here. Not that happened, but that it was only as bad as it was.
Yeah, on a half horse.
Right.
Unfortunately, his hand stopped the motor.
Right. But most of your older equipment that blacksmiths like are from 1920.
Yep.
And they have a 17 horsepower motor that'll just rip your arm off.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I would say, going along with that is remove the illusion of safety. We do all these things. In fact, I need to talk to you about lathe guarding for my dad.
Okay.
But remove the illusion of safety. So anytime that you're in a setting where you start to feel comfortable, you have to remind yourself that what we do is dangerous.
Right.
When we do hammer-ins or when I'm doing demonstrations or anything like that, I always take the time to stop and say, everything is hot and everything is sharp, and it is actively trying to hurt you. Being a blacksmith is a lot like living in Australia. Everything wants you dead.
Right.
So,
That's good. I like that.
So, one that I'm willing to share is I was doing big, long shepherd's hooks, and I always heard about vapor lock, but never experienced it. And I was taking it and very intentionally saying, okay, I'm working on this one. When I set it down, it's over here. That's the hot one. This one over here is not the hot one. Well, somewhere along the lines, they got switched, and I grabbed the hot one. And it must have been just under glowing because it was still black. But I picked up this shepherd's hook, and I carried it 3 or 4 feet. Oh, this is hot. And it's a big 8-foot. Oh, right. God, that's hot. And I look down, and there's no burn. My hand doesn't hurt. Nothing. Okay, that's weird. And then I went over and kind of looked at it and, do the hover your hand around it. And I was like, oh, that's really hot. What happened? The next day, my whole hand is just a callus.
I was going to say, was your skin on it?
Yeah, my whole hand is just a callus. And what happens is your skin it's so hot that you've seen people like put ice on hot stuff and it rejects it or whatever. It just creates a vapor barrier between your hand and the steel, and it cooks all of the moisture out of your hand. And it took me a good 2 or 3 weeks to heal, and putting keefs on it every day. But
it took me one time. So Corbin one time said, because he gets burned, or he's been burned a lot. I think all blacksmiths have. And he said, I wish it was a little more hot. I said, what?
Yeah.
And it took me, I was like, all right, I gotta read up on this. But it kills those nerve endings.
Yep.
And he goes, it was hot enough to where it still hurts.
Yep.
Where if I'm going to get burned, I might as well get burned enough to where it's, and then the other one that I do want to let everyone know, if you do a show, so Corbin it was our first one in LaPel, Indiana, and it was, he was making the Fredericks crosses, and a lot of times people don't realize, well, first of all, they think a forge is like a grill. So a grill might get up to 400 degrees.
Yeah.
Nope, not 2,500 degrees.
Right.
So when he's hammering, we had some stuff set up, but nothing to really stop people from walking up. And this guy in flip-flops walks up, and there's slag going on the ground. And Corbin looks at me like, what is he doing? And because he wanted a picture. So he got way up there. And I was like, okay, time for me to get chain link or something. Chain or, like the yellow chain. Because I'm like, last thing I want to do is pay for someone's burns on their feet, or Corbin drops something or something like that. And
Evan.
Did Evan drop something?
Evan is notorious for shooting material off at people.
Oh, it's good to be known for something.
Yeah.
So.
That's his claim to fame. Yeah. Having safety boundaries is very good. But I mean, the other thing to keep in mind, I don't want to scare people out of it, because at the end of the day, and this might sound super dramatic, but you can get stung by the wrong bee and die tomorrow.
Right.
You can try shellfish for the first time at 40 years old and have a bad reaction and die.
Right.
We face dangers everywhere. Somebody could stop and not know their brake lights are out, and you rear end them, and massive trauma. There are things that have unfolded recently in our circle that you go for a regular checkup and find out, it's bad. So yes, there is danger involved in blacksmithing, and it's kind of a joke, but it also is everything is actively trying to maim or harm you.
Right.
But you're also facing dangers everywhere you go. So don't let that deter you. If you're in the shop and you're starting to get comfortable, remind yourself you're always in danger.
Right.
I would say about once a month I have a run-in where I'm like, oh yeah, what we're doing is crazy, right? Typically that's anytime I use an angle grinder or a cutoff wheel, it's usually cutting something that I remember that. But even, bolting the front panel onto presses while we're painting, sometimes I'll have my drill and I'll crank it over and I'll skin my knuckles because it comes in and it's like, oh yeah.
Because you're using impact, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
a
like
lot more power.
Oh, this can be painful.
Right.
This can be detrimental. I could smash my knuckles into it one day and break a knuckle, not just skin myself. So having close calls is not inherently bad as long as you take those close calls and you learn from them. Right. Let the close calls save you from the big, crazy things. Let those little reminders pile up. And I'm not saying go out and do dangerous things. Don't do that. Intentionally do something that's going to put you in harm's way. But just remember, things are dangerous for a reason, and we have safety guidelines for a reason, but don't let that stop you.
Because the reward is way higher than the risk.
Right.
Just the reward of, and I'm not a blacksmith, but just the reward of seeing the relationships. If he never blacksmiths another thing, which wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But just the relationships that he's built and the people that he's met and the experiences that he's had in just a couple of years, that way outweighs everything else. And there are people in my circle, the safety nerd circle, that'll be like, your son's a what?
Yeah, you let him do that?
You let him do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you get emails with tragedies attached with
all the time.
And it's not like us on Instagram where we get a reel that's suggested and it's somebody being turned over in a lathe and it's like, why would they allow this? Like your job specifically is like, guys, this is why this happened. You need to watch this video because you need to see the breakdown of what happened.
Where the failures were, what the contributing factors were, all
exactly.
those things.
So you get to watch all these videos of somebody on a lathe and getting spun around it, and then turn around and find out that Kurt gave your son a lathe.
An 8-foot lathe.
An
Yes,
8-foot
yes.
lathe with a 5 horsepower motor on it.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, of course. Because you give him that rope of, I'll let you burn your hand after making a Friedrich's cross. Now, I'm sure if he was leaning on that and you saw that, you would have been like, hey, boy, that's hot.
Right.
Don't do that.
Like if I saw him doing it, anyone, I would stop. But sometimes, what's that? There was a comedian that was talking about it one time. It was like, our parents had a 5,000-pound TV on top of a TV tray when we were kids. Like their thought was, let him pull it over on himself.
Yeah.
A few times. He'll learn.
Right. It's the burn your stove allegory.
Right.
Right. Where it's like, hey, that's hot. Hey, that's hot. Hey, that's hot. Oh, that was hot, wasn't it, buddy?
Right.
Sometimes that experience is important.
Right.
So
no, it's I couldn't say more good things about the blacksmithing community, Cole, and all the guys and the ladies there, because it's not just for men.
Right.
There's some
It's not hair dye.
super talented. There was a lady demonstrator last year, I think, or a couple at Sofa, and I think there might have been I know there's a lady that sells books.
Mm-hmm. Tinka.
Yeah. And then there's another lady that does all the filming, and she's amazing too. And they blacksmith as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's for every age.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
Yeah. I think that goes along with what we constantly say anytime we talk about an event we're going to, which is just come and get involved. You're going to find some avenue that you enjoy. It's hard work, but there's nothing better. When I was working at Zoomies, it's like I'd work 12-hour days, go home and be up for 5 or 6 hours until 1 or 2 in the morning, wake up, do it all over again. And it was work. I was mentally drained, but physically I couldn't go home and fall asleep. Now I'll wake up and I'm on my couch and it's 1 in the morning and it's like, oh, I'm going to bed. There's no better feeling to me, personally at least, than being physically exhausted and knowing that what I did today was fruitful.
Right.
So right now I'm running a lot of things. I do service, I do sales, I do any customer facing anything. I'm helping planning something at the CBA. I am doing all the import paperwork for the show in Canada that we supply to Induction Forge for.
So we'll let you slide on the set screws.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me
just
slide on
checking.
the set screws. But I'm also doing all of our own. I've recently taught Chris to paint, but before that, I was doing all the painting. I was palletizing presses. I was, going over and doing assembly, setting up supermarkets, and it's like it's a lot. But when I get home at 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I'm tired, it's like, man, but. It feels good. Just, and that's the, I don't get like, it's not like, oh, well, I'm working these muscles out and I look leaner and, or anything like that. It's literally just, I did good today.
Right.
And I'm tired.
Right.
And I get to enjoy bed.
Right.
And not sit and think about, a conversation I had when I was 12 years old where, all that was that social anxiety that comes back to
Right.
all the memes that are like, yeah, I try to go to sleep, but I think about the time I told my doctor that a mole was growing and it wasn't. Or it's like,
Right.
I don't have that anymore because I'm tired. So,
Right.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to shout out?
No, I appreciate you guys having me.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you and all the safety that you provide
Yeah.
us and stopping us from doing dumb stuff. And
Right.
Thank you for
Trying.
giving us another body on the floor. And
Yeah.
watching Corbin grow up the past couple of years has been beneficial. And
Yeah, it's
to
been
us
fun to
and
watch. So
he's a
we
good
really
kid.
appreciate it.
So thanks for coming out.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Guys, get involved. Come hang out with us. Go hang out with other blacksmithing groups around you. Prank call Evan. His refrigerator is running, and he should chase it. Night, guys.
Awesome. How did we do? Was it okay?